Space professionals have been preparing for interplanetary cat videos since the early 1960s, when the French military launched Poor Felicette the cat into space in 1963. Unfortunately, Felicette did not survive the curiosity of the French.
Centre d'enseignement et de recherche de médecine aéronautique.
Later, NASA was more gentle while performing microgravity experiments on two cats and some pigeons who apparently wished to remain anonymous.
Okay, so let's review just a little bit about the deep space internet, the interplanetary internet. And I hope you liked the little intro about the cats. There's a lot more about animals in space, but here's a couple of things real quick here. Where am I at? Oop. Is it that one? No. I'm still struggling here. Oops. Where are we at? And down here somewhere. I had a section. Here we go. Here we go. So this is a little bit, and I'll show you. This is Wikipedia Interplanetary Internet, and this is kind of a nice little section that describes why it is that the internet in space is so hard. The motion in long distances between the planets, interplanetary communication is greatly delayed due to the interplanetary distances and the motions of the planets. So these pieces of equipment that we send out there are severely limited for their mass and the energy that they can supply. And they're moving very fast over extremely long distances with solar radiation, solar flares, background radiation, and big planets in between them and Earth. Sometimes we have an object on, say, Mars, and we want to get information to and from that object. It could be a rover, it could be something in orbit around Mars. And Mars will be on the opposite side of the sun at the moment that we would like to have that data. And then a period of time later, it's right next to us at its closest point of approach to the Earth. And these conditions are significantly different than what it's like on Earth when we have very fixed locations and we're transmitting data between those things. That's really much easier for the programmer to figure out how to do packet TCP/IP protocol stuff. And so NASA developed a long time ago a TCP/IP protocol for space, specifically for space. But it turns out the story is more complex than that. So let's shut this one down and let's take a look at another one. Now, here's another little tidbit. This is delay-tolerant networking, which is a little bit more of an advanced thing. There's a little history here about it coming in between the 70s and the 90s, the process of that becoming a thing. And through a mobile ad hoc networking. But then you get Kevin Fall, who started to adapt some of those ideas in the internet, IPN, interplanetary network, interplanetary network. It's a funny algorithm. There's so many. When you get into space and government, they've got these names for things that'll blow your mind, and they're acronyms stacked to the ceiling. So around the early to mid 2000s, you started to see them kind of pick up a little bit of speed on this and start to work on it. Let's go over here and try and get that to just not do that. And let's take a look at this. Here's a little whoop. Trying to get this to do that. Okay, there we go. And this thing is a deep space data systems all the way back November of '98. And as you can see, there's plenty of different people have been working on how to communicate with satellites and probes in deep space for a long time. And it is kind of a cluster, right? It's a bit of a mess to work on all of these things. It's not very centralized. It's pretty all over the place. And there's a lot of I keep saying algorithms, but it's these abbreviated sentences. National Air and Space Administration, Consolidated Space Operations Contract, CCSDS, CCETT, the what is that one? The Centre Commun de, it's French, I can't read that one. There's a ton of this stuff, and it makes it a real beast to slog through and figure out what they're doing. But they really are working on a lot of stuff. They really are trying to communicate with these things. I mean, here you got a splash page for some organization called IPNSIG. Acronyms are a beast. They really are. But they have to really keep up with it. Deep Space Optical Communications. Now, that's pretty recent, and it's pretty interesting stuff. There was a it's not. God dang it! I didn't want to do that. That's not what I was trying to do. Dang it! Quit doing the thing I don't want you to do. Please do the thing I'm trying to get you to do. So Psyche, the Psyche mission, is a spacecraft that was sent out, and they have a little extra package in it. Let's see here. We've got the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Where is that little thing? Anyway, you can read through this stuff, and it'll tell you about the Psyche mission. But there's another package on that Psyche mission, and it's a test of the laser communication back and forth from wherever Psyche went. I believe it's Mars. Let's see, what's this one? This one's from 2013. Oh, and this one's a little interesting too. This is long-term preservation of data, and I think it's related because as we up the bandwidth from deep space, and this science is going to take a long time, this is going to be valuable data for a really long time, while people examine, compare, and study all this data. So this is a little tidbit about the long-term archiving of digital information. And there's some work going on in Microsoft that I think is really cool. I have my issues with Bill Gates, but he did build a pretty affecting company that we've gotten a lot of benefits out of. And one of them is Project Silicon, where they're laser printing digital data on passive glass plates. So these glass plates are very, very durable, and it doesn't require any electrical energy whatsoever to store it, and they're not sensitive to magnetic decay or anything like that. So that's kind of an interesting thing to consider with interplanetary internet, is not only are we going to have cat videos, but we're going to want to store them and the critical mission data as well. And as we build populations in space, these issues of bandwidth and long-term preservation of data will become critical to the success of these great adventures. Let's see what's the last one I got here is a deep space optical communications technology demonstration. This is a DSOC fact sheet from NASA, and it's a fun one. It's got plenty of good information in here. It really pulls out the goals, demonstrate the flight laser transceiver and ground systems are able to lock onto each other's laser signals during DSOC's calibration and commissioning phase, demonstrate specific downlink data rates. As the Psyche spacecraft travels further from Earth, these data rates will decrease as the distance from Earth grows. But again, theory has it that it'll be better than radio, and radio has the same problem. Demonstrate a data uplink up to a distance of 1 astronomical unit, the average distance between the Earth and the Sun. That's 93 million miles, or 150 million kilometers. That's a whole nother neighborhood, and that's been a challenge for a long time as we explored Mars. Demonstrate operations for nearly 2 years after the Psyche mission launch, making 1 contact per week for the duration of the technology demonstration. So this starts October 2023 and has a couple of key moments at 20 days and 50 days after launch. So this is already up there and in process, and it should be very interesting to see how this works out. If this works out well, we should get a lot more pictures from Mars. We should get a lot more sensor data, and we should be able to do a lot more command and control functions from Earth to rovers on the surface of Mars, which opens up the question of how many simultaneous rovers can we have running on Mars at the same time if our data connection is faster and cheaper per bit. And here's a little piece of artwork that they developed to show that, and this is a little bit about how that breaks down. The ground laser transmitter and a ground laser receiver, deep space network, has the radio links, optical comm control center, and mission ops center, and then you've got the 1060 nanometer beacon and uplink, max rate of 2 kilobits per second, and the downlink max rate of 264 megabits per second. Flight laser transceiver, FTL or FLT, excuse me, optical head, 4 watt, 22 centimeter diameter. So here's this is kind of some interesting little tidbits for you to think about the future of interplanetary cat videos. Thank you for joining me today, and have a blessed new year.
How bad? How bad? How bad?